How's it going, guys? My name's Donnie Kelly Kearns, and since I work at an alligator park, I feel like it should be fitting that I actually do a video on an alligator. So today we have Charlie, and she is a very unique looking alligator. As you can see, she's a lot lighter in color than most other alligators. She has a bunch of white on her. She's not quite an albino, but she still has a very unique color pattern, and she's probably my favorite one here. So Charlie's about 3 to 4 years old, and you may think an animal this size would be a pretty good pet, but alligators can get a whole lot bigger than that. Charlie here someday might get as big as 14 feet long, and if we're lucky today, hopefully I can show you some alligators about that size. So let's start by pointing out some of the cool features this animal has. Alligators are a highly aquatic reptile, and so they have a few adaptations to cover for that. You'll notice that both its eyes and its nose are on the very tops of its head. And these little weird sort of blotches behind its eyes, those are its ears. So all of its senses are above the water. Why that is because these alligators want to cruise with just their head poking out on the surface, so animals can't tell that there's a giant alligator underneath. Now, if you look at this animal's feet, you'll see that they're webbed, and you may think, oh, that's also to help it swim in the water, sort of like how a duck has webbed feet to help it swim. But that's actually not the case. Here in the southeastern United States where these animals live, it is very muddy. The swamps, everything, they don't want to sink into that mud. So they use their webbed feet to spread out over the mud, disperse their weight so they don't sink in. They'll also use their webbed feet when packing in mud when making their nests, but they don't use them for swimming. If you ever see an alligator swim, you're gonna notice that they're gonna be using their whole body and mostly this huge, strong, muscular tail. Now, alligators are a very well-armored animal. You'll see all throughout its body has these huge bony scales. So it pretty much has a giant suit of armor that this animal is gonna use to protect itself. And that comes in very handy when this animal's small. Everything's trying to eat these guys, even bullfrogs, snakes, birds, fish, anything you can think of are gonna try and eat a baby alligator. About 90% of these die before they reach adulthood, so if you ever see an adult alligator, consider it very lucky. So a cool adaptation alligators have that enables them to be so aquatic is actually in their eyes. Alligators have 3 different types of eyelids. So they have one pretty much like ours. They have one that's like a bony plate that covers their eyes so that it protects it. And then they have one more that's sort of like a clear contact lens that goes off to the side, and that's called a nictitating membrane. Birds have them too, and why crocodiles and alligators have them is so they can see underwater. It's like a pair of swim goggles, so it enables these animals to see as good in water just as well as they can see out of water. Now, if you look at the head of any alligator, you're gonna see a bunch of little black dots on it, and you may think, oh, that's stubble, that alligator needs to shave. But what that is are pressure sensors called mechanoreceptors. So when this alligator's in the water, it's gonna feel the vibration from everything in there, every fish, every turtle, and it's gonna use those vibrations to decide if that animal's prey and attack. Now, of course, let's get to the most exciting part of this alligator, its mouth. As you can see, it has many sharp teeth. They have about 80 teeth, 40 on top, 40 on bottom. And you may have heard that alligators are constantly replacing these teeth. So when one breaks or gets dull, another one's gonna pop in right after it. But that works a lot differently than how many people think it does. They think it works like how our teeth work, like we have a baby tooth and then it gets pushed out by the one below. It's sort of like that, but think of these guys' teeth like a row of traffic cones. They're all stacked on top of each other. So when an alligator sheds its tooth, it's actually totally thin and hollow, and then the tooth right under it is already right there. Now, if I were to get bit by an alligator like this, it would do a decent amount of damage. I mean, I'd definitely bleed. If I were to let it roll, there's a chance it can maybe take off a finger even, but it's not even close to the damage that a full-grown alligator could do, like the one I'm sitting on now. So we're actually gonna go see a living one, put Charlie back, and show you one of the most dangerous creatures on the planet. So here we are with some alligators that are a whole lot bigger. This is the breeder pond here at Gator Country, so all these alligators are over 6 feet long, ready to breed, and as you can see, ready to hunt. So you may look at an animal like that, see those wide open jaws, those teeth, and think, man, that thing has to be a man-eater. But actually, alligators aren't out to get you. Believe it or not, alligators only kill 1 person a year on average. It's extremely rare, and why it happens is because people are feeding alligators. So say this is a lake and people are throwing hot dogs and bread and fish guts over the side, and alligators get used to eating there, they're gonna start associating those people with food. Normally, alligators are gonna be afraid of people. They don't want anything to do with us. But once you start feeding them, that's when accidents can happen. These alligators are used to eating anything that hits the surface of the water. So if someone falls in, it's gonna be a bad day. Alligator attacks also happen because sometimes drunk people wanna try and wrestle them, and usually the alligator wins. So if you avoid those things, you should be okay. You saw that burst of speed. Alligators are incredibly fast. On land, they can only go about 10 miles an hour, not too impressive, but in the water, these guys can reach speeds of 20 miles an hour. And to put that in perspective, the fastest that Michael Phelps has ever swam ever was 6 miles an hour. So no human in the world would ever stand a chance trying to swim away from these guys. So as you can see right there, you can see the open mouth of that alligator. And if you'll notice, when you look inside of an alligator's mouth, you actually can't see all the way down. When a person opens their mouth, you can see their throat, but an alligator, it's closed off. So there's a really common myth that an alligator can't bite you underwater. That's totally false. If I were to hop in here, it doesn't matter if they're on the surface or under the water, they are biting me. The thing they can't do is that they can't swallow underwater. So the reason you can't see all the way down their throats is because they have a palate that's blocking the water from entering their mouth. So that way, when they do bite something underwater, water's not going down their throat, it's closed off, they're gonna drown that animal, kill it, and when they're ready to swallow, they'll lift their head and the prey up out of the water, they'll open up that palate, and they'll be able to swallow it. So theoretically, if an alligator bites your arm and it's all the way down its throat, you could actually press down on its palate, it would let in a bunch of water in, and it'd have to spit you back up. But I can't say anyone's ever tried that. You know, composing yourself in the moment is pretty impossible when your arm's inside of an alligator's mouth, but some information to keep in your mind if you ever find yourself in that situation. So looking at these alligators, you may think that if I were to fall in this water, I would be totally dead. But actually, yeah, I would be. I'd be 100% dead. These guys are trained to eat anything that hits the water, and what's gonna happen is that one of these alligators is gonna lock on, open its mouth, and slam down with 3,000 pounds of pressure. That's pretty much sticking your arm in its mouth and then dropping a pickup truck on top of it. That's how much pressure it is. So after one of these alligators would have latched onto me, it's gonna pull me into the water and try to drown me. That's the first thing alligators do when they grab large prey. They don't wanna work harder than they have to. They don't wanna try killing it with brute force. I mean, these animals can hold their breath underwater for over 2.5 hours, so they can definitely wait it out for you to drown. So that's exactly what it's gonna do. It's gonna hold me underwater. Most alligator deaths happen because of drowning, not the actual bite from the alligator. So after the alligator would have drowned me, it's gonna think about wanting to eat me. Now, of course, an alligator can't actually chew, so it can't swallow me whole. So what these animals have to do is death roll. So that's why it's actually beneficial for an alligator to be in a place with another alligator, because if it starts rolling, the prey will just roll with it. But if there's two alligators that grab the prey and start rolling on either's end, they're gonna be able to pull it apart, break it into small pieces, and then actually be able to swallow it. So even though these alligators are definitely scary looking and definitely have the power to kill you, they're not out to get you. As I said, they only kill about one person a year, and those are all accidents. The alligators aren't trying to eat us. They're not targeting us as food, as would something like a crocodile. So if you see these guys in the wild, just respect their distance. Don't get up too close, or else an accident could very well happen. But if you did like this video and learn a lot about the American alligator, be sure to subscribe, follow along on my new and upcoming animal adventures, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all so much for watching.